President Trump just threatened to sue author Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein's estate. Over 3 million Epstein documents just got released by the Justice Department. Trump says the emails prove his innocence and show Wolff and Epstein were conspiring to destroy his 2016 presidential campaign. Democrats led by Chuck Schumer are calling this a cover-up. Trump's deputy attorney general says the documents completely exonerate him, and now Trump wants revenge through lawsuits. This Epstein story just took a massive turn. Stay with me because the emails are absolutely wild. What's up, everyone? Marcus Reed here with Senate Decoded, where I break down politics without the BS. Real quick, if you want unfiltered coverage of the most explosive political stories, the ones the mainstream media either ignores or spins to fit their narrative, smash that subscribe button right now. This Epstein document release has layers most outlets won't touch. You need the complete picture. All right, here's the situation. On Friday, the Justice Department released over 3 million documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Personal emails, communications, records. This is the single largest Epstein document dump in history. On Saturday, Trump was aboard Air Force One heading to Palm Beach when reporters asked him about it. His response? The documents completely clear him of wrongdoing. But more importantly, he says they prove author Michael Wolff was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to politically destroy him during the 2016 campaign. And now Trump is threatening lawsuits against both Michael Wolff and Epstein's estate. I'm breaking down what's actually in these 3 million documents, what the explosive Wolff-Epstein emails reveal, why Trump says this was a political setup, what Chuck Schumer and Democrats are claiming, what Trump's legal case would look like, and what this means for Trump's presidency. Let's dive in. Let's start with what was actually released on Friday, because 3 million documents is an absolutely massive amount of material. The Department of Justice, under Trump's administration, released over 3 million Epstein-related documents on Friday, February 1st, 2026. These documents include personal emails to and from Jeffrey Epstein, communications with various associates, business records, financial documents, travel records, communications about prominent figures. This release dwarfs previous Epstein document dumps. We're talking about years of Epstein's digital correspondence and records. This is a Trump administration Justice Department releasing these documents. Trump has been president for about a month at this point in 2026. The timing is interesting. Trump promised transparency on Epstein during his campaign. This fulfills that promise. But it also happens to contain emails that Trump says exonerate him. Democrats immediately cried foul, calling it selective and self-serving. Trump, speaking to reporters on Air Force One, said, "It looked like this guy, Wolff, was a writer, was conspiring with Epstein to do harm to me. I didn't see it myself, but I was told by some very important people that not only does it absolve me, it's the opposite of what people were hoping, the radical left, that Wolff, who's a third-rate writer, was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to hurt me, politically or otherwise, and that came through loud and clear." Let me break down what Trump is claiming. Wolff conspired with Epstein. The author and the criminal worked together. Their goal was political harm. Not truth, but destroying Trump's campaign. The documents prove Trump's innocence. No criminal conduct, no inappropriate behavior. The radical left wanted the opposite. They hoped these documents would destroy Trump. This is crucial. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who works for Trump, told Fox News Digital. In none of these communications, even when doing his best to disparage President Trump, did Epstein suggest President Trump had done anything criminal or had any inappropriate contact with any of his victims. This is Trump's own DOJ saying. Even when Epstein was trash-talking Trump in private emails, he never accused Trump of crimes or inappropriate conduct with Epstein's victims. That's actually significant. If Epstein, in private communications where he had no reason to lie or cover for Trump, never alleged any criminal conduct, that is exculpatory evidence. Here's where it gets really interesting. Fox News reviewed emails between Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein from 2016, during Trump's presidential campaign. In a March 2016 email, Wolff writes to Epstein, "You do need an immediate counter-narrative to the book." He's referring to James Patterson's book, Filthy Rich, about Epstein's crimes. Wolff continues, "I believe Trump offers an ideal opportunity. It's a chance to make the story about something other than you, while at the same time letting you frame your own story." Read that again carefully. Wolff is telling Epstein to use Trump as a distraction from Epstein's own crimes. Then Wolff adds, "Also, becoming anti-Trump gives you a certain political cover which you decidedly don't have now." So Wolff is advising Epstein to attack Trump politically to give Epstein political cover for his own criminal activities. There's another email from February 2016 where Wolff suggested to Epstein that the disgraced financier is the bullet that could end Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Wolff is literally telling Epstein, "You are the weapon that can destroy Trump politically." These emails suggest that Wolff saw political opportunity. He recognized Trump's association with Epstein could be weaponized. Wolf was advising Epstein, not as a journalist, but as a strategist. The goal was political damage, not truth-seeking, but campaign destruction. Epstein was willing to cooperate. He was engaging with Wolf's strategy. Now, we don't know if they actually executed this plan. We don't know if other emails show follow-through, but these emails show intent and conspiracy to use Trump's past association with Epstein as a political weapon. Now let's talk about Michael Wolff, because if you're going to understand this story, you need to know who this guy is and why Trump hates him. Michael Wolff is a journalist and author. He's written for various publications over the years. He's controversial, polarizing, and has a history of contentious relationships with his subjects. Wolff became a household name in 2018 when he published Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House. This book was explosive. It portrayed Trump as mentally unstable, unprepared for the presidency, surrounded by staff who thought he was incompetent, ignorant of basic policy. The book included quotes from Steve Bannon, Trump's former chief strategist, calling a Trump Tower meeting with Russians treasonous. Trump hated this book. He called Wolff a liar, threatened to sue, but never did, and his lawyers sent cease and desist letters. The book sold millions of copies and defined early coverage of Trump's presidency. Here's what made Fire and Fury so controversial. Wolff claimed he had extensive access to the White House. He said he essentially camped out there for months talking to everyone. The White House disputed this, saying Wolff's access was limited and his quotes were fabricated or exaggerated, but the book's impact was undeniable. It shaped the narrative of Trump's first year in office. Wolff's credibility issues. Even among journalists, Wolff has a mixed reputation. Some colleagues have accused him of embellishing quotes, recreating scenes he didn't witness, prioritizing sensationalism over accuracy. Wolff's defense has always been, the substance is true even if specific details are disputed. When Trump called Wolff a third-rate writer, he's expressing what many in Trump's orbit believe, that Wolff is a hack who makes things up for book sales and political damage. Whether that's fair or not, it's undeniable that Wolff has made a career out of anti-Trump content. What we now know is that Wolff was in contact with Jeffrey Epstein in 2016, before Fire and Fury, before Trump was president. And those communications show Wolff advising Epstein on how to use Trump's past association with Epstein as a political weapon. This raises questions. Question 1. Was Wolff working as a journalist or a political operative? Journalists report on subjects. They don't advise them on political strategy. Wolff emailing Epstein saying, "You should attack Trump for political cover," is not journalism. That's political consulting. Question 2. Did Wolff's Epstein communications influence his later Trump coverage? If Wolff was already thinking about Trump-Epstein connections in 2016, did that color his approach to Fire and Fury in 2017-2018? Question 3. What was Wolff hoping to get from Epstein? Was he hoping Epstein would give him dirt on Trump for a future book? Was he positioning himself as an ally to Epstein to gain access? As of now, Michael Wolff has not publicly responded to these email revelations. He has not commented on Trump's lawsuit threat. That's telling. Usually, Wolff is eager to engage publicly. His silence suggests either his lawyers told him to shut up, he's preparing a response, he knows the emails look really bad. Trump is now claiming these emails prove conspiracy, that Wolff and Epstein coordinated to politically damage Trump. Is that true? Let's look at the legal definition. Conspiracy requires agreement between two or more people to commit an unlawful act or a lawful act by unlawful means. An overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Did Wolff and Epstein agree to damage Trump? The emails suggest yes. Was the ACT unlawful? That's harder. Negative press isn't illegal. But if they coordinated false information, that could be defamation. Was there an overt act? We'd need to see if anything came of their discussions. So Trump's conspiracy allegation is serious but not yet proven beyond the emails themselves. Now let's talk about Trump's threat to sue Michael Wolff and Epstein's estate, because this is where things get legally complex. Trump said there's a high likelihood he would sue Wolff and Epstein's estate because he was conspiring with Wolff to do harm to me politically. That's not a friend. Notice Trump's framing. That's not a friend. Trump is saying Epstein positioned himself as Trump's friend in the 1990s and 2000s, but was actually conspiring against him by 2016. Trump has several potential legal theories. If Wolff published false information about Trump based on Epstein's lies, and Trump can prove the statements were false, they damaged Trump's reputation. Wolff acted with actual malice, knew they were false, or recklessly disregarded truth. Then Trump might have a defamation case. Problem: Trump is a public figure, so the bar for defamation is very high. He'd need to prove actual malice. If Trump can show Wolff and Epstein agreed to publish false information to damage Trump, that's conspiracy. The emails could be evidence of the agreement. Problem: what false information was actually published? The emails show intent, but did they execute? If Wolf and Epstein's actions interfered with Trump's business relationships or political campaign in an improper way, that could be tortious interference. Problem: political campaigns are public contests. It's hard to claim interference in something that's inherently competitive. If Epstein fraudulently portrayed himself as Trump's friend while secretly working against him, that could be fraud. Problem: fraud typically requires financial damages. Political damage alone might not be enough. Jeffrey Epstein died in 2019. So Trump can't sue Epstein himself, but he can sue Epstein's estate. When someone dies, their estate becomes responsible for their debts and liabilities. If Epstein committed wrongdoing while alive, his estate can be held liable. Epstein's estate. Epstein's estate is valued at over $600 million after legal claims. It's been tied up in litigation for years with victims seeking compensation. If Trump sues the estate, he'd be adding to a long list of claimants. Honestly, it's uncertain. Arguments in Trump's favor: the emails show clear intent to harm Wolf was advising Epstein, not reporting on him. This goes beyond normal political opposition. Arguments against Trump: political figures face harsh criticism all the time. Trump would need to prove actual damages. Trump would need to prove false statements were published. Freedom of the press protections are strong. Trump threatens lawsuits often, but rarely follows through. Trump has threatened thousands of lawsuits over his lifetime. He's followed through on a fraction of them. Why? Because lawsuits are expensive. Discovery can be damaging. Trump would have to testify, provide documents. He often loses. Sometimes the threat is enough to get what he wants. So when Trump says high likelihood of suing, take it with a grain of salt. He might, but he also might just be using the threat as leverage and PR. The political calculation: from Trump's perspective, threatening to sue accomplishes several things. Changes the narrative. Now the story is Trump was the victim of a conspiracy rather than Trump had questionable associations, puts Wolf on defensive. Wolf has to respond to conspiracy allegations. Energizes base. Trump's supporters love seeing him fight back Dieter's future critics. If Wolf faces consequences, others might think twice. So even if Trump never files the lawsuit, the threat itself is politically valuable. Now let's talk about how Democrats are responding to this document release, because they're not accepting Trump's exoneration narrative. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer accused the Trump administration of conducting an Epstein files cover-up. Schumer's argument: Trump's DOJ selectively released documents that make Trump look good. Other documents that might be damaging were withheld. This is Trump using government power to clear his own name. The release is self-serving political propaganda disguised as transparency. This is a good faith question worth examining. Timing: Trump's been president 1 month and suddenly millions of Epstein documents dropped that happened to exonerate him. Selective release: how do we know all relevant documents were released? Why DOJ control? Trump's deputy AG is the one declaring Trump clear conflict of interest. Trump's administration investigating Trump is inherently problematic. Trump promised this. He said he'd release Epstein documents during the campaign. The documents include everything. 3 million documents is not selective. It's comprehensive. Epstein never alleged crimes. Even Democrats can't point to Epstein documents accusing Trump. Wolf-Epstein emails are real. You can't fake emails between Wolf and Epstein. Schumer referred to an Epstein files dispute with the Trump administration. What dispute? Apparently, some Democrats and watchdog groups have been demanding the release of Epstein-related documents for years. The Biden administration didn't release them. Now Trump did. Democrats wanted these documents when they thought they'd be damaging to Trump. Now that they've been released and don't show Trump crimes, Democrats are claiming cover-up. That's suspicious. Here's the fundamental question. If Trump had something to hide, why release 3 million documents at all? If there were bombshell emails showing Trump crimes, wouldn't Trump's DOJ just not release them? The fact that Trump's administration released this massive trove suggests they're confident there's nothing there. Or if you're cynical, it suggests they carefully curated what to release. The problem is, how do we know these are all the documents? We're relying on Trump's DOJ to tell us they released everything. If they withheld documents, how would we know? This is why watchdog groups and journalists will be scrutinizing the release for gaps and inconsistencies. Democrats are in a tough position. If they accept the documents as authentic and complete, they have to admit Trump is clear. If they claim cover-up, they sound like conspiracy theorists. If they ignore the story, Republicans will hammer them for months. So Schumer's strategy is claim cover-up, demand more documents, keep the story alive. Possibly. If FOIA requests reveal documents were withheld, Trump will face renewed questions. But if these 3 million documents are truly comprehensive, Democrats don't have much to stand on. Let's zoom out and talk about what this Epstein document release means for Trump's presidency and political future. Trump has been dogged by Epstein associations for years. Every time Epstein comes up, Trump's past friendship with him gets rehashed. These documents, if they truly show Epstein never alleged Trump crimes, are exculpatory. Trump can now say, Epstein's own words clear me. Even my enemies admit there's no evidence. This was always a political witch hunt. That's powerful. The Wolf conspiracy angle. By framing this as Wolf-Epstein conspiracy, Trump shifts from defense to offense. He's no longer defending his association with Epstein. He's attacking Wolf for weaponizing that association falsely. That's smart politics. Whether or not Trump actually sues, the threat puts Wolf in an impossible position. Wolf can't easily defend emails where he's advising Epstein to attack Trump for political cover. Those emails make Wolf look like a political operative, not a journalist. This story damages media credibility more broadly. If one of the most prominent Trump critics, Wolf, was coordinating with a criminal, Epstein, to damage Trump politically, what does that say about media coverage of Trump generally? Trump's supporters will cite this as proof of media conspiracy against Trump. And honestly, the emails make it hard to argue otherwise. But here's the uncomfortable truth Trump's critics will point out. Even if Trump never committed crimes with Epstein, Trump was friends with Epstein for years. Trump has admitted he knew Epstein socially. They were both wealthy New Yorkers in the same circles. He knew Epstein liked young women. In a 2002 interview, Trump said Epstein was a terrific guy who likes women on the younger side. Trump later said he had a falling out with Epstein and banned him from Mar-a-Lago. But the association existed. The friendship was real. So while these documents might clear Trump of crimes, they don't erase the fact that Trump was friendly with a monster. For Trump's base, this is total vindication. Trump was right all along. The media lied. Wolf is a criminal conspirator. For Trump's opponents, this is a cover-up. Trump's DOJ released cherry-picked documents to protect him. For moderates, this is probably exculpatory for Trump on legal grounds, but still raises questions about his judgment in befriending Epstein in the first place. Republicans will use this story in 2026 midterm campaigns. Democrats and their media allies conspired against Trump. Trump was innocent all along. The witch hunt continues. Democrats will counter. Trump is using DOJ to cover up for himself. He can't be trusted to investigate himself. Epstein documents raise more questions than answers. For Michael Wolff, his reputation is significantly damaged. The emails show him as a political operative, not a journalist. For media generally, another example of journalists behaving unethically, which feeds Trump's fake news narrative. For Trump, even with exoneration, the Epstein Association will never fully go away. For Epstein's victims, this whole saga often loses sight of the real victims, the women and girls Epstein abused. The political circus around Trump overshadows the actual crimes and suffering. All right, let me bring this entire story together. The Justice Department released over 3 million Epstein-related documents on Friday. President Trump says these documents completely exonerate him and prove author Michael Wolff was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to politically damage Trump during the 2016 presidential campaign. First, the documents include emails showing Michael Wolff advising Jeffrey Epstein to attack Trump politically to give Epstein political cover for his own crimes. Second, Trump's deputy attorney general says that even in private communications, Epstein never alleged Trump committed crimes or had inappropriate contact with victims. Third, Trump is threatening to sue Michael Wolff and Epstein's estate for conspiracy to defame and politically harm him. Fourth, Senate Democrats led by Chuck Schumer are calling this a cover-up, claiming Trump's DOJ selectively released documents to clear Trump. Fifth, the emails severely damage Michael Wolff's credibility as a journalist. He looks like a political operative coordinating with a criminal. Sixth, whether Trump actually files the lawsuit is uncertain. He threatens suits often, but rarely follows through. Seventh, for Trump's base, this is total vindication. For his critics, it's a cover-up. For moderates, it's probably legally exculpatory, but raises judgment questions. Eighth, this story will be weaponized in 2026 midterms by both parties with completely opposite narratives. Do these documents actually clear Trump, or is this a carefully orchestrated release by Trump's DOJ to protect him? Should Trump sue Wolff? Are the Wolff-Epstein emails evidence of conspiracy or just a journalist cultivating a source? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want continued coverage of this developing Epstein story and all the political fallout, hit that subscribe button. I'm Marcus Reed with Senate Decoded, breaking down the stories the media won't fully cover. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.